hang on a second. Let me get the participant screen going. Okay, yeah, we're ready to go. Just a reminder for folks, if you will, to when you've got a question, hit the raise your hand button, and we will get you on. And Coach, we're ready to go. And if you have an opening statement for us.
Sure. Again, just like the last time we touched base, I hope all of you are doing good and staying healthy. We're all trying to deal with this situation the best we can. Asked often how we're dealing with it, and we're dealing with it the best we can, just like everybody else. Trying to touch base with players virtually, on the phone, FaceTime, as much as we can, checking in on them and their families, making sure they're good. We've had a couple scares. It seems like everybody is healthy. We had a few extended family members that have had it, not myself, but some of our players and their families, and they've recovered. So knock on wood, everything's been good. And we're dealing with things the best we can. It seems to be like our players are doing a good job academically. Just got off a staff meeting. That's why I was a touch late. Sorry, I was a bit late, but just got done having a virtual meeting with our staff this morning. And seems like guys are doing good academically. From what we can tell, physically, guys are doing what they're supposed to do. Obviously, it's hard for us to monitor that. So we just got to go on their word. And, I believe what they're telling us, and it seems like our players are working very hard. I know come this next month in May, we're going to take it up another notch with our training and with our summer training and with our strength and conditioning coaches. And we're going to mail them some things to help them with their workouts to use, such as weighted vests and bands and things of that nature, to take it up and step it up with their physical training. As far as when we're going to get back to work and all that, your guess is as good as ours. We're just still listening to the people making those decisions. And in the meantime, we're doing everything we can to prepare to be ready to play on September 5th. As for the draft, very proud of our players. As you know, that was a very special group. Proud of them. I think the two guys that were drafted landed in some great places. I think for Lynn to be out in Las Vegas and to be with the Raiders and a part of that organization, moving to a new city, new stadium. I know there'll be a lot of excitement out there when they get going, and Lynn will help, and he'll contribute to that organization and to that excitement. I know some guys on their staff very, very personally and closely, and they're excited about having him. So very proud of Lynn. He's come a long way. That's been well documented. You guys all know that, but one of the best players to ever wear the blue and white, and he'll do a great job in the NFL, and we're excited for him. Same with Logan. Logan was a mainstay for us for many years. I've said it often. I don't care where he was drafted, where he went. He's a guy that I believe will play a long time in the NFL. He's a big, strong, physical guy that is very intelligent, and I think he also landed in a great spot in Detroit. And I'm excited to watch him and see where he goes. As for the other guys that were signed free agent contracts, I think they all have a great chance to make teams. They're very good football players. They've overcome a lot already, and I expect them to have a great opportunity.
All right, Coach, thank you very much. Our first question comes from John Hale. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Mark, we're starting to see the pro teams maybe start to move towards playing again without fans in the stands. What are the different challenges for college teams as opposed to playing without fans, considering the players aren't paid, all those other things? Do you think that's a viable option for college, or do you know?
John, I really don't know. I think there are definitely some different challenges for us. I think, the first thing that comes to mind is there's going to be a lot of critics out there, the optics of it. to say that you're going to have college players out there that are allowed to play and line up 6 inches apart from each other and breathe on each other, sweat on each other, get in big piles and do all that, but you're not allowed to have fans in the stadium. I mean, that's going to be the first thing you hear, right? People are going to, the optics of it, that's decisions, people need to make that, again, are above, my deal. So other people are going to make those decisions. But I'm not sure that's a viable option. The other thing compared to the NFL is financially. I think it's very important to have people in the stands. Universities are counting on that. We need people in the stands. Before this whole situation happened, you heard me talking about it and kind of encouraging our fan base to pick it up and to pick up season tickets and to get in there because we need them. It makes a difference to us having them in there both financially and for their support. Christian, go.
Okay, next question is from Josh Moore. Josh, go ahead.
Hey, Mark, when you talk about, the possibility of having to play without fans and all that, just how do you – what are the players like? Kind of what are your conversations with players about all these possibilities? I'm sure they're asking the same kind of questions that we're asking, and I know you can't probably impart much different to them than what you do to us. But
no, I really can't. And what I tell them is the world's a big place, and there's a lot of people affected by this. So we know there's some inconvenience going on right now, but we're not alone. So deal with it. Deal with it the best we can. And just like I tell them often, control the things you can control. And that's how you're doing academically, what you're doing with the structure of your day and preparing. When they tell us to go, we'll be ready to go. That's the important message for me to them, is to not worry about all of that as best they can. It affects all of us, and it gets discouraging. It gets tough on all of us, but you have to deal with it the best you can. And, I don't like getting into hypotheticals with them.
Okay, next question, Larry Vaught.
Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Larry.
A couple of things for you. One, did you think that Calvin Taylor would get drafted and maybe why do you think he did not? And then also with him going to the Steelers now, Bud Dupree just signed that $16 million deal. It's kind of wonder how proud you are of Bud and what he's done.
That's great. I didn't hear that. When did Bud sign that deal?
I think that was Friday.
Okay. I didn't read about that yet. Well, that's good. I knew Bud had a big payday coming. So I'm very proud of Bud. It does not surprise me that he earned a big contract. He was very well deserved, and he's worked hard and done the right thing. So very proud of Bud. I think with Calvin going to Pittsburgh, I think that's a good fit for him. Pittsburgh likes big guys, just like Bud. Big, strong, physical guys, just like Benny. So I think Calvin will fit in well with that organization. I did think he'd be drafted late. But it didn't happen, but maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Maybe the Steelers needed him and he'll go there and do well. Calvin has done nothing but overachieve. Again, the story where he comes from. We picked him up late, because I saw his size, I saw his raw ability, and I thought, if anything, he had an opportunity to be a tackle. But he was starting to really come along at defensive tackle, and we needed him. And, was a mainstay for us the past couple years and contributed quite a bit. And with that length, it really helped us. And hopefully he'll do the same with Pittsburgh.
Thanks.
Okay, next question is from Mansour Shaheen. Mansour, go ahead, please.
Hey, Coach. 2 questions for you, I guess. So first, did you have any contact with Logan on draft weekend, especially maybe like right after he was drafted? And have you had any contact with the Detroit Lions coaching staff since they drafted him?
Yeah, I talked with Logan after the draft and just wanted to congratulate him and visit with him, and he was very excited. I knew I had not talked to him prior to him being drafted. I know how that goes. I've been around a long time with these guys, and that's a very stressful time for these players. It feels like an eternity for them and what they're going through and waiting for their name to be called. But as I tell them all, you just got to trust and believe that whatever's happening, it's happened for a good reason. And I know he's excited about playing in Detroit. He's excited about playing for that staff. And so, no, I have not personally talked to those guys since the draft. I do know some of them and talked to them prior. But I think that's a good fit, and I'm excited for them.
Thank you.
Okay, next question, Charlie Walter. Go ahead, Charlie.
What's going on, Coach? How are you?
Good, Charlie. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Question for you is about diet right now. So important because a lot of these guys, we're in a time period where it's somewhat noble to get takeout every single night. So with
you
that
want me to stand up, Charlie?
Absolutely. So with that being said, with exercise being down somewhat, I'm sure, considering a lot of these guys just have body weight and sprints and whatever it may be. But that being said, how important is it to have the dietitian involved and make sure that these guys aren't, eating out every single night?
Yeah, it's very important. But it really comes down to something we talk all the time about, Charlie, and that's discipline. It really is, because we've worked extremely hard on developing leadership, for years and years and years. And this is a great example for our players to take advantage of that and to adhere to the message that we've been giving them for a long time. Because it takes great discipline, accountability, and dependability to get up and do what you have to do when nobody's watching. What time, you're talking about eating. That's one part of it, and it's a major part. It's very important. It's very important for them to consult with our dietitians and our strength and conditioning staff. I just got off a staff meeting, and that was one of the things I started with, was where are we at? How do you feel our players are doing? The guys that need to watch their weight and to cut down, where are they at? And our strength and conditioning coaches gave me an update. We have to take these players' word for it, where they're at. Then the guys that need to bulk up and to make sure they're eating, or are they getting enough groceries? Do they have the resources to be successful and to keep things up? That's one part of it. But, there's a big piece of it is, do they have the discipline to get up every day, take care of their academics, go do their workout any way they can? Or are they submitting? Are they giving in? Are they just caving to what's going on around them? And people that do that are not going to be very successful. The people that get up and have a structure to them and have a schedule and that are being accountable to their teammates and to their organization, then they'll be successful. And the teams, when we come back from this, the teams that do well are going to be the teams that are doing a great job, with the things that we're talking about right now, because it's hard to monitor them. You have to trust that they're doing the right thing. I believe our players are, but we'll see when we get back at it.
Okay, next question is John Wong. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Mark, you talk so much about accountability and dependability. I think in the last media conference, you said that you really need this team to be player-led, and no time is more important than now. So can you kind of give us some examples of players who may have stepped up and taken that leadership role this year during this time?
I think, talking to our coaches, I know some of our players are doing that. They're getting on the phones, challenging their teammates. They're checking in with their teammates, sure they're doing the things necessary to be successful. I know Josh Ali's a guy that the players have told me have been on the phone, with them and challenging guys to do right. I know there's others, and they're checking in on each other. And so I feel good about it. But, again, there's no way to monitor all that. But I do trust our team and believe they're doing the right things. I know it's not 100%. We talk often about the 10-80-10 rule, right? There's always 10 people in any organization that are elite. There's 80 that are floating around somewhere in the middle, and there's 10 at the bottom. and we want to make sure that we don't have too many guys in the bottom 10%. And we want the guys that are elite to drag guys up and to make sure they're doing the right things and making sure we have a hell of a lot of people that are elite in the top 10% of our program.
Okay, next is Gary Graves. Gary, go ahead, please.
Hey, good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
You were talking about being ready, whenever they decide to start up, but how much to change things if they push the schedule back and try to do a full schedule and it runs into maybe December and during recruiting periods for you?
I mean, it'll be different. It'll be different for everybody. Again, I know, there needs to be some discussion about all this because we can't put our heads in the sand and we have to be ready for all options. But right now, our focus is to be ready for September 5th. We had a conference call with our commissioner and assistant commissioners and all the head coaches last week, and we're all on the same page on what we feel like, what timeline, we feel like that we could bring guys back and be safe and be ready to play. And that's where our focus is right now.
Great. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Okay, next question from Kyle Martin. Go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, Coach, this is Kyle Martin with the Las Vegas Raiders. You talked a little bit about knowing a lot of the people on the staff, the coaching staff with the Raiders. Can you talk a little bit about just the evaluation process and the conversations you had with them prior to them picking Lynn? And then you said Lynn's grown a lot, whether that's on the field or off the field. Can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think I'm excited. First, I'd like to say I'm excited. Well, I open with that. I'm excited about Lynn playing with Vegas. I think he'll be a great fit. I think, the fan base will be energized by him. I think he will feed off that. I think Coach Gruden is a really good fit for Lynn because, I know Coach, and I think the way he could relate to Lynn and get things out of him and continue to help Lynn grow, I think that's really important. Richie Bisaccia, their special teams coordinator, and I go way back and know each other for a long time. And Richie is another one that is will be a great mentor for him. Richie coached in college. He understands that relationship. He understands the developmental piece, and he'll be a guy that I think Lynn can lean on. And Richie can help Lynn continue to grow, and Lynn can trust those guys. So I think it's a really good fit, and hopefully things will work out for both sides.
Okay, next up is John Clay. Go ahead, John.
Mark, you talked about it in that conference call. The coaches talked about how much time you might need to get ready for a season without a full spring and summer. Are you going to need more time, you think, than normal, or would it be a same training camp no matter when you get started?
Well, I think we're talking about some adjustments. John, I don't really want to get into all that because right now we're just taking down a lot of information, and the commissioner and the leagues are gathering some info. But, hopefully there will be some type of adjustment. For instance, if we can get back, say, I'm just saying hypothetically because y'all love for me to dive into that, and I generally do not. But if we can get back in July, then maybe there could be some type of leniency with us in what we're allowed to do with these players because of missing spring. Maybe, see, our guys usually, we're allowed to watch them train. We're allowed to watch them lift and run and do things. And then we have to leave the field to watch them do 7-on-7, which the players are going to do anyway. So maybe, it would be something where we ask them, let us watch them do 7-on-7. Let us coach them. Let us, improve the product because we are crunched a little bit. I think obviously the first thing we all have to do is put safety first with our players, making sure they're conditioned and ready to play. That's undoubtedly that's the number one thing. It's just to make sure physically they're ready to play and in good shape and taking care of their safety. That's first and foremost. And then from there, what can we do to make sure we're putting a good product on the field? We all miss spring. We all have some newcomers. And so, those are some things that maybe can be discussed to where, when we get back, maybe we're allowed to spend some time with them, to teach them, to coach them, to make sure they're doing things safely. Just some common sense issues that we could possibly adjust. Those are just some things we're kicking around and talking about and trying to be prepared for, trying to be ahead. So when and if we get this green light, we're ready to move forward and put the best product on the field and make sure our players are safe. Now, quit getting me to talk about hypotheticals, damn it.
I appreciate you doing that. Thank you.
Next question comes from our latest father in the group, I believe, Nick Roush. Got a new one. Congratulations, Nick.
Thank y'all.
Congratulations, Nick.
Thanks. He's
what you have, a boy or a girl?
Little boy. He's
good for you.
Thank you. It's exciting times. I recently saw ESPN rank the strength of schedules, and y'all were at number 64. Do you think you have the 64 most difficult schedule next year?
I didn't look at the 55 ahead of us, but I think and I know nobody in the SEC needs to apologize for their strength of schedule. So no more needs to be said about that,
From a dad's note, though,
if any of them thinks it's easy, let them go ahead and line up and tee it up against those. Yeah, it's real easy.
From a dad note, though, a lot of people are having to homeschool their kids now. What subject's the most difficult for you to grasp when instructing your kids?
That's a good one, Nick. Yeah, I hope you stay up all night with your newborn. My kids tease me all the time because I always ask them, I'm poking them around all the time. What do you need some help with? Do you need dad to help you with? And they kind of just chuckle. They laugh at me a little bit, but definitely my oldest boys, the math, the algebra. Yeah, I got no chance. I mean, I don't know how these guys are doing this kind of stuff in the seventh grade. It's ridiculous.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey, I can still beat the Monopoly, though.
All right. Next question comes from, let's see, Kent Spencer. Go ahead, please, Kent.
Yeah, Mark, what kind of growth did you see from J.J. Weaver from when he showed up on campus last year to when spring practice got shut down?
Yeah, quite a bit. As I mentioned, late in the season last year, maybe even postseason, but JJ was probably a guy, we were able to redshirt the entire group. But I definitely say JJ could have been a guy that was ready to play by about mid-season last year. And we got some snaps out of him, and we preserved that year. So that's a good thing. But we also, with that new rule, you were able to see quite a bit of growth because we had him playing late in the season. And so they were always ready mentally to play and working hard and working with our coaches, mentally, physically, instinctually, everything improved for him. He's a guy that we are very, very high on. He has that size and that length and the twitch that you're looking for. So JJ has a bright future, and we're excited about that.
Okay, next question comes from Eddie Pascal. Eddie, go ahead, please.
Hey, Coach. Eddie Pascal with the Las Vegas Raiders. Mike Mayock said over the weekend that Lynn is going to play predominantly as a running back, but he's certainly going to be able to be moved around John Gruden's offense next season. What is having a player like Lynn who can kind of fill all those different roles do schematically for an offense as a whole?
Well, it could create a lot of problems. You saw that last year with LSU and what a great job they did at using their running backs at the receiver position. It put a lot of stress on defenses all year, and they did a remarkable job. And I know Coach Gruden will have his wrinkles and have his ways to use them, but I think that's the first thing that you think of. If they're going to use him primarily at running back, think of the way they could possibly motion him out or line him up, removed, return him. he can do a lot of things. And so, that's what we had hoped moving into the draft, that his versatility would really help Lynn. And I believe it did. You could see that with them talking about playing him at running back, which we really never did except in the direct snap situation. Not that he couldn't have, because he certainly could, but we had quite a few running backs that we trusted, and so we utilized them in a different way. But, prior to the draft, you heard us talking about Lynn can play a lot of positions, and running back's one of them. So I think that'll be exciting to see him play there. I know he can do it. And the weapon that he can be, get him out of the backfield and get him to empty situations or free releasing him out of the backfield will be fun to watch him get the ball in his hands. That'll be a way to get the ball in his hands. And Gruden will be, he'll utilize them the right way and be creative. And so it'll be fun to watch.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Okay. Next question is from JD. Is that Jeff Drummond? Is that you, Jeff?
Yeah, that's me. Tell me.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, Mark. Good to see you.
Hi, Jeff. Good to see you.
Yeah, doing okay. Glad to hear you guys are too. I was just wondering, there are probably times with you that technology and kids drives you crazy and some of the things that they can do with it. But we've heard these stories of what your guys are kind of doing to stay in touch with each other and to kind of use it to keep their mental training going. Yeah. Like the quarterbacks, they told me they were doing some kind of coverage Jeopardy. The other day. Can you talk a little bit just about how the staff and the players are being creative with this and just trying to maximize their opportunities?
Yeah, I think just like you're talking about, that's a great example of Coach Henshaw, because he's meeting with those guys quite a bit. I think that's one position to where this is extremely important. That it is to all positions, but as you know, kids learn in different ways. But I think at that position, you can't get enough film study. This is that's one position where it's extremely important for the quarterbacks and the receivers to get on the same page and really study the game and understand it. And just the way Coach Henshaw is using some Jeopardy, and he sends me a format each and every week of what his plan is for the week and what his plan is to teach. And, I like seeing that. I like seeing the organization of it, and I like seeing the creativity and making it fun. That's part of being a good coach. There's times when you got to love them up. There's times when you got to get on them. It's the same way when you're dealing with the whole team. I believe that's a big part of you're either going to have success or not, of knowing the pulse of your group. And it starts in your position room. And I tell coaches all the time, you can know all the X's and O's you want, but you better have some talent. And what I mean by that is you better have talent. You better get to kids. You better get to them, and they better be ready to play for you. And they need to understand, and they need to be motivated. And that starts with each position coach having the talent to get to people and to get to recruits and to connect with them. So I think our guys are doing a really good job, and I feel very confident in this staff.
Okay, our next question is from Aaron Gershon. Aaron, go ahead, please.
Hey, Coach. I just saw the video of Terry running on a treadmill the other day, and I was wondering, first of all, how he's doing and what his rehab process has kind of looked like with all this going on.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. He is a guy, because of his situation, that he's able to come in a few times a week and to work one-on-one with our trainer, with Gabe. And, that was a video that you saw of him running on the treadmill. That's one of those treadmills where what's zero gravity, so not much pressure on him. Again, Gabe was on our conference call this morning and gave me an update on him, and he tells me that Terry's leg, I was asking about the atrophy and just what the strength was in his leg, because that's the most important thing at this point. And he tells me that the size is there, the mass is back, so that means his both the right and left quad are the same size, so that's a good sign. But he's still not at 100% in strength. So he's got to concentrate on that and make sure he gets that strength up, and that'll come. You saw him on the treadmill with the zero gravity treadmill, but eventually they'll keep on moving to a regular treadmill, running on underwater and things like that. And the trainers will have him ready, but he fully expects him to be 100% by the time we start.
All right, our next question is from Josh Moore. Go ahead, Josh.
Hey, Mark. I asked the last time we were together, and no, the answer hasn't changed really, but you're seeing more and more universities kind of institute, whether it's staff-wide pay cuts or maybe like the highest earners, giving back some salary for now time. I think Kansas just announced something. Has there been any further, any discussions about that within the football or?
I think I told you that, day one that I'd be willing and listen and want to help. I'm trying to do the things necessary, my wife and I, to be very generous in this situation to a lot of different organizations, because there's so many people that need it right now. And we're trying to spread it around and make a difference and do our part and help as best we can. And certainly the university is a part of that. I have brought it up 2 or 3 times to Mitch. I would imagine that time will come, but it hasn't been the time to address it to this point.
Just to follow up on that quick, all this stuff's been trending upward. There's just a lot of money in the sport. Do you think, how do you think this will affect that moving forward? Just in, from a college football wide, just your thoughts on.
I really, that'd be total speculation at this point. I don't know. I really don't know. I think in life, it's been a good time to hit pause. I think for all of us, I know for me, because you're used to just going. And, this is a different time. It's unprecedented in my lifetime. And, I think a lot of things are going to change moving forward.
Okay, John Hale, go ahead, please.
Hey, Mark, with summer school going online too, are all your freshmen, your signees, still planning to enroll in June? And what are the kind of unique challenges of bringing those guys into the fold since you can't see them face to face at this time?
Yeah, it's my understanding at this point in time that they can enroll in summer school classes, and that'll be good to get them going and to get them incorporated into our virtual meetings and all those things. But again, this is unprecedented. I mean, it's the first time we've had to go through that. So we got to make sure we're doing our part to connect with those guys. And, that may be something where we meet with them individually, because they have to meet at a slower pace. And so, we may have to just take the incoming freshmen and have our coaches do a virtual meeting with them, just one-on-one, or with their group. And, that's one way to help bring them along until they're caught up to speed, because it's very difficult, to learn just one way. And, certainly we could plug in film and have them watch right now. We could plug in, basically a grease board, a chalkboard, and have it attached to the film. But that's still just one way of learning. Other kids learn from walkthroughs and being out there on the field with their players. So it's going to be different.
Okay, got time for a couple more. Go ahead, Larry Vaught.
Yeah, Mark, do you expect any of your other players to sign free agent contracts?
I would expect Cash to sign a free agent contract. Hopefully, I know there's been a few teams, that were interested. So hopefully I expect Cash to sign.
Thanks.
I'm not sure, about any of the other guys. They could be. I haven't heard much yet, but there certainly could be some more.
Okay, Charlie Walter.
So how about UK football camps being pushed back and canceled and everything along those lines? What it does for the community along with what it does for the school financially, how does that affect the overall process of what you guys are trying to do?
Well, financially, it won't affect the school very much. That's that's not much there, but it'll affect us in our evaluation process and getting kids on campus. That's a great way to get kids. Maybe sometimes they hadn't been here yet, so it's a way to get them introduced to the campus, to see Lexington, to meet our coaches and to be around our coaches in a coaching environment, see the way we coach and interact with kids. So it hurts us that way. It really hurts in the recruiting aspect more than anything with us, and getting, a way for us to get our eyes on kids. As far as the community, it hurts. It hurts my children. They're used to going to our baseball camps and basketball camps and so on, and just being a part of it and doing things to keep them active. So I think in that part, it's going to drive a lot of moms crazy, because that's always a good way to get them out of the house for a couple of days. And for us as coaches to interact with them, spend some time with them and have some fun with some youth kids. So again, just like all of this, just different, different year. We all have to adapt to it as best we can.
Okay, Kent Spencer.
Yeah, Mark, I was just wondering, Boogie Watson is a guy who came on at the end of last year or during the season. What kind of year you hear some people throw Josh Allen type season coming for him. Is that a possibility with him?
I think it's definitely a possibility. I know Boogie is highly motivated and he's worked really hard. Just like any player, you go through some ups and downs, mentally, physically. And, I know he was highly motivated to put it all together this last year, to be a great leader, to be a great teammate, to do everything necessary to prepare himself for this year. And there's a guy that I have full confidence in during this time right now. He's doing everything he can to make sure he's ready to play. So I do expect big things out of Boogie.
Okay, and our last question, we'll wrap it up with John Wong. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Mark, I know you hate hypotheticals, so I'm a little bit scared to even ask you this. But I know these decisions are made at a higher level, but you are the football coach, and the fans want to know your opinion. When do you think the season is going to start, and when do you think the fans will be allowed to actually attend the games?
I really don't know, John. That's just the truth. If obviously I want to be there. Our staff and our players want to be there, and they want the fans to be able to attend. It's of my opinion that we should play football with fans in attendance. So I'm going to do the things that I've been told, and that's to go about my business, to do the best we can to prepare our team to be able to play September 5th. And, that's what we're doing. Until somebody tells me otherwise, that's the way I'm going to go about my business, is getting the team ready to play. And if it does get pushed back, then we'll deal with it. We'll deal with it the best we can. But it's real important for us to be out there. It's important for our state and our community. And it's important for our fans to be there. I know everybody's probably going a little bit stir crazy right now. Everybody's starving for some live sports. And we want to provide that. We want to be out there and provide an outlet for people, and a way to escape some of this. But obviously, we have to do it in a safe manner. And the answer to that. It's not my decision. That's from people that are a lot smarter than me. But when they tell us it's safe enough, then we want to be out there. But I want to be out there with fans in attendance too, because I believe they make a difference. And we feel that energy. It's a part of our sport. And that's the way I want to see it.
Okay, Coach, thank you very much. We've hit our time for today. So thank you for joining us, and thanks for our media folks for joining us as well. And we will see you down the path.
All right. I appreciate you all. Stay safe. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Coach.